It's the Rip City Wrap-Up, brought to you by Dick Hanna Subaru. Believe in nice. Here are your hosts, Tyree Smith, Danny Marang, and Joe Simons.
Shaedon and Delano knew it was time to fly, and they were flying high in Toronto. Welcome into episode 77 of Rip City Wrap-Up, sponsored by the good people at Dick Hanna Subaru, Danny Marang, Tyree Smith, Joe Simons with you guys for another great episode. After the Blazers, they get the 112-103 victory over the Toronto Raptors. I'm not sure if that's what you wanted, but that's what happened.
You were going to get it one way or the other. Look at you guaranteeing a great show before we even get started.
Hey,
that's awful bold of you.
Listen, with us, it's going to be a great show, man. It can't be knocked. Make sure to use that hashtag RC Wrap-Up to join in the conversation. See what you guys are feeling after this Blazers win, or, you know, there's a chance. 0.2%, whatever the percent is. My math is so terrible.
2%, Tyree. There's a 2% chance that your Portland Trailblazers make the play-in, and this campaign continues. All I'm going to say is a preview of coming attractions. The upcoming schedule. It's 2.
It's 1.3.
We're going to fight about this more because my source says something different. It's fascinating to look at the schedule for both Sacramento and Phoenix. It's an interesting thing to do.
You know what?
Sure, if the Blazers win every game.
It's
sure.
an interesting thing to do. With the Blazers won, Toronto, like I said when we were watching it, this is a really good. If you want to explain why there should be 70 NBA games, I think this is a good example. Mm-hmm. Toronto has been mailing it in for weeks.
Yeah, at least 3. At least 3, probably closer to a month now. It's funny, Scotty Barnes played exactly 27 minutes. It's kind of funny, it ends up on like a round number. R.J. Barrett doesn't cross the 27-minute threshold. Orlando Robinson just 14 seconds over 27 minutes.
These are the Raptors of consequence you're listing right now.
Yes, of course. No, I mean there's no Brandon Ingram, there's no Jakob Poeltl. I mean there wasn't a single player that registered more than 28 minutes other than Jacoby Walter. Yeah, who played 29:42. Like the assignment is the assignment. Yes,
correct.
There you go.
That's it.
When Danny talks about April basketball not being real, I assume he's talking about this exact game. Yes, I have been. There has not been a game this season I have been less interested in, and it was very easy to go. Oh, Danny, good job, Danny. Shaedon, oh, good job, Shaedon.
Well, why is that?
Because there's no stakes. It doesn't matter. And that's my biggest beef with tanking. And look, the Blazers have been guilty of this, but my biggest beef with basketball from basically March on, half the games don't matter for the league. On any given night, whether it's players resting, teams tanking, you look around the NBA, just going by Tankathon, there's 8 teams that don't care. There's 8 teams that absolutely do not care.
Okay.
The Blazers are kind of the cutoff line. Right?
We're the Mendoza line of caring in the
Yes.
NBA. The top 21 teams in the NBA care. The bottom 9 don't.
Yeah, I mean that's really where they're at. And
Carlos agrees.
We are still on
that beep. If what was the guy from Police Academy? Was it Michael? Was it Winslow?
So many children have no idea what Police Academy is. That's all I'm thinking of. Yeah, I think the sound effects guy.
Yeah,
the funny guy.
The boop, boop. Yeah, it's a very faint boop, boop on the radar. Okay. It's going all the way around and occasionally not getting picked up.
See dogs at home in their living rooms just start. What is that? What is that man doing? It's that noise.
Do not check your smoke alarms. You're
Look,
fine.
I get it, and I'm sure we're gonna get back to it a little bit more later because I agree this was. But you cannot deny Shaedon and Deni, and we have to start with Shaedon.
Yes.
36 points.
Ties a career high.
He might have been doing it against mechanics and firemen out there late in the game, but watching him play with that supreme confidence makes me feel all tingly inside because this is the Shaedon Sharpe that we think he can be on a more consistent basis. It's not necessarily the points or the efficiency or any of the stats. It's the confidence with which he played with. And Lamar said it best. He said Shaedon is playing like he thinks he's the best guy on the floor right now because he was by a wide margin. Yes. But you hear about there are so many players in professional basketball, guys, that are not talent-wise what Shaedon Sharpe is, and yet they play as if they're Michael Jordan or LeBron James. And watching Shea do this, play with the level of confidence, like, I'm the best guy on the floor, this is my town, I'm in my country, mom and dad are right there, watch what I'm going to do. And he showed out. And if you can get that on a more consistent basis from Shaedon Sharpe, watch out. It's what we've all been waiting for. This kind of performance.
He had a step back three early in the game where it wasn't a settling step back three. You know, I've been critical of the shots that he's taken or not taken really for the second half of the season. And one of the things I've said is, like, I really don't like him taking shots off the dribble right now because he's just not sure what he wants to do. A lot of times he's off balance, or it's a kind of a bailout. He drove right, put his shoulder into the defender, knocked the defender back, and then rocked back, stepped back, got his feet underneath him, cashed it out. And it wasn't because the shot went in that I was like, oh, that's a good shot. There was a process and a confidence that went into it of, I'm going to attack this guy. I know that if I take this step downhill, he's going to try to take that 45 and cut me off, and I can put my shoulder in him. And he felt that immediately and used his momentum after putting his shoulder into him and immediately went into good footwork, under control. Just the process, you could see it just kind of flow through him as opposed to like bailing out of, you know, a shot of like, oh, I got cut off. I either have to, you know, retreat, dribble, and kick it out, or just take a shot here because I'm supposed to take a shot here. No, you look at his shot chart tonight, 14 of 23, 4 of 10 from 3. This is the difference between like 3 of 10 versus 4 of 10, right? 3 of 10, you're 30%. 4 of 10, you're 40%.
Whoa, yeah, all of a sudden.
That one make, though, it makes things look differently. You take away his three-pointers tonight. He's 14 of 23 from the field. You take 4 of 10 away, he's 10 of 13 from 2. Since the beginning of the calendar year, he's one of the best finishers, non-big finishers in the entire league.
Yeah, Tommy Stats had that number post-All-Star break.
Yes.
It's unbelievable that he is at that level on par with, well, he's ahead of Giannis, right?
Yes.
Ahead of Joker, ahead of these bigs, and doing it at such a high percentage. It is not just the points, but something we're going to continue to monitor with Shaedon.
The other stuff,
Especially in a game where you don't have a point guard. And boy, it looked rough early. And boy, look, we all love DB Hooper. I love DB Hooper. Tyree loves DB Hooper.
I'm
Danny
a big
loves,
DB Hooper.
We all love DB Hooper, but he was not meant.
Point guard name only.
He was not meant to be.
He's a shot guard.
Exactly.
Shot guard.
That's exactly right. But Shea got 5 assists, 6 defensive rebounds, which again, offensive are great too. But those defensive rebounds, if Shea's getting those in space and can run out, it's such a big weapon for the Portland Trailblazers. So seeing those other numbers light up, got to the free throw line 4 times. Just 1 turnover, handled the ball a lot, and had the best plus-minus on the floor. When you have 36 points, that's going to help contribute to that.
And you guys have forgotten the best part. My man smiled a little bit. My boy was feeling good, all right? Listen.
Definitely feeling good back home.
Mom was there. You know, he had to.
And the pregame one with Brooke, when she was just interviewing him, I felt a little different energy. Not too much. It was like a little bit.
But
of
a little is a lot with Shaedon. That's the thing.
You know, a little pinch of salt.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it felt like. I felt like his character was coming out.
And we got to get the stat out there. They said it on the broadcast, but for those of you watching on YouTube, maybe you didn't catch the entirety of the game. This is the most points scored by a Canadian,
Visiting Canadian,
in Toronto, who does not play for the Raptors.
Yes.
Tommy Stats, he put that out there. I think that's good. Today was a fun game, all right? In ways, I'll say this, because, yeah, not everybody was probably paying attention as much, sure, you know, keeping along and, you know, following the stats, but it was the Blazers' win, and at one point, Blazers were losing this game to Toronto.
Yeah, but they weren't going to lose this game. They weren't. Everybody's like, the Blazers really need to lose this game. They really need to tank it out. It's like, well, they lost WAP. They lost Tumani. It's like they were down to 9 players. It was, and the talent disparity was just too far. Even when you went to the further down the bench, it's what the Raptors are putting out there right now. It's guys, the back end of back end benches. And then look, Jonathan Mobo might end up being something. I think Ochai Agbaji is turned into a viable role player in the NBA. But I mean, they were playing 2 starters tonight, and those 2 starters played 26 minutes. And the Blazers, even if they did the same, they're gonna walk away with a win. They weren't going to out-tank this team without getting egregious. Now, what I'm interested in
So funny.
is what happens in that Spurs game. Because both teams have shown in the past, in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes game, That was a game where Shaedon Sharpe mysteriously was not available, and John Butler Jr. was playing point guard.
So that one's on Sunday, and the game tomorrow against Chicago.
Chicago's pushing hard for wins.
Well, exactly. Chicago's pushing for wins. So my point is that's going to help, depending on your perspective, a great deal. There are folks out there, Dan. I know you're not one of them. Hey, you watching on your couch, you may not be one of them, but maybe your sweetie next to you is. And they want the Portland Trail Blazers to go and advance and continue this thing on. Look, the loss to Sacramento basically torpedoed all the chances.
Right.
It is still very unlikely. It is not.
They have to win out.
It's not a win them all, lose them all, but it basically is.
Yeah, it is.
It essentially is.
They have to win out, I mean, just to give them any sort of grace, and it's not on the table. It's just not. It's not on the table for the Blazers.
Okay, well, I mean,
it is unlikely, but to say it's not on the table, Marang.
Well, bring up the Blazer box. I mean, look at the last games that we have. All right, look at the last 5 games.
The last 2 games alone, it's not on the table. Both those teams are fighting tooth and nail for playoff positioning. I would be shocked if both of them had their positioning locked in on the last 2 games of the season.
Well,
it does look pretty unlikely that would happen. It could. If you get a 2-3 game spread, then perhaps you see a little funny business.
Well, I mean, importantly right now, the Warriors and Lakers are playing right now. And that is going to have a massive impact. It's, 26-22 at the end of the first quarter. They came into this game, the Lakers had a 2-game lead on the Warriors. If the Warriors close that gap, it gets mighty interesting very quickly.
Well, how is everybody going to play that last game again at the Los Angeles game that we have as the last game? Because LeBron's down now. He was just hurt. I'm not sure if that will actually stay. But my point is, this feels like a time period where people may not be caring as much. Like you said, you weren't really. The game was like whatever, blah, wet napkin. Who cares?
It was a game that, in the grand scheme of things, it will be lost to the void.
But
you're not going to tell your grandkids about this one, Marie?
No, this is definitely final. Like I watch almost every single game back, and when I get home, not doing it tonight. No, I won't. I absolutely
Marang is
refuse.
not putting the work in tonight.
No,
I like it.
Absolutely. And last season, the final, was it 22 games? I didn't watch a single one of those back. I'm not going to put myself through that. I'd be surprised if the Blazers watch this tonight.
You know what? How about this?
They got a back-to-back. They're like, on to the next.
They want to hear some stuff about Dick Hanna Subaru. Isn't that right, Joe?
Well, of course, Tyree.
Come on now.
For over 70 years, Dick Hanna Subaru has been a trusted, family-owned dealership dedicated to serving their community. With a lifetime powertrain warranty on every new Subaru and a focus on lasting relationships, they truly believe it nice. Visit Dick Hanna Subaru today and experience the difference for yourself. It's time for a deep dive into a shallow topic. That's right. It's TrendBA.
It's TrendBA. You know what? TrendBA this year is going to go to somebody that, this guy has a feeling about. Either way, he might not have been the best Blazer ever, but when he got here, well, good people, he definitely was a show out. Carmelo Anthony was announced yesterday to be inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Now, All-Star, 10-time NBA All-Star, voted All-NBA 6 times, averaging 22.5 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 2.75 assists over an NBA career that saw him on 6 different teams in Portland. They signed Melo back in 2019 during free agency, and he played about 127 games for the Blazers over 2 seasons, averaging 14.3 points and 28.3 minutes per game. He will be the 8th player who took to the court for the Blazers to be inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame. Danny.
I mean, Look, I've been very specific. I did not enjoy the Melo period for the Blazers at all. Wasn't my cup of tea, but he's an absolute, no doubt, first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, there's no question about that. The 2 most productive one-and-done college players in NBA history are Anthony Davis and Carmelo Anthony. Anthony Davis did it on a Kentucky team that was loaded. Carmelo Anthony did it dragging some dudes. I mean, the interesting thing that came out of this for me was Carmelo Anthony was only a 6-time in 19 years, 6-time All-NBA player. And we started doing this on the radio today when we started talking about it, and I was like, that's kind of crazy. He was only 6-time All-NBA, and we started going through the list, and you remember who the forwards were in his, just take like a 10, 12-year prime. And you're like, oh, that's right. Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, LeBron James, Blake Griffin, Dirk Nowitzki, Tim Duncan. Like, the worst player that, like, knocked him out of being an All-NBA player was, like, Elton Brand one year, Carlos Boozer another. It's like, other than that, every single other player that he lost out on being an All-NBA team member is a Hall of Famer.
How many was with New York in the Eastern Conference as opposed to being in the West? Do you recall?
I think it was 3 or 4.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, look, the New York market definitely gave him
of course.
some juice.
And look, I see it both sides. I like to give Danny a hard time about the Melo thing because I think for the most part, people liked Melo here in sort of a tongue-in-cheek manner because A, you weren't getting the best of Melo. Everybody knew that. B, that team wasn't contending for anything. Everybody knew that. And I think there was an acceptance and understanding that it's just really cool to have Carmelo Anthony on your team, especially if you're not contending for a title. And what I always got a kick out of with bugging Danny about it is that you are so willing to embrace something that is tangential to advancing your franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a side quest that you were never interested in going down.
Not one bit.
Not even for a moment. And that's what brought me such joy was Melo, especially because it's Melo, because Melo's such a demonstrative player. You know, when he grabs the rebounds and he yells and he does all this. Like, he is a hilarious guy to have your team, and he's fun. Yes, there you go. And he's like a big-time celebrity. And I thought it was just a really fun distraction. I know you viewed it as a very disappointing distraction because it's look at the shiny thing while we don't have to actually build our franchise. And I totally understand all of that. I just knew that that's the plight that we had, so I took a big gulp of the Kool-Aid and I just had fun with it.
I didn't want the dirty water. That's basically what it was. And it had nothing to do with like Melo per se.
Right.
It was
he was the avatar for it.
Yes, and it was like I wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. And again, Melo having fun, the bleep out of here on the rebounds, like we used to, like
so good.
We used to joke about him when we were in the booth like watching the games because the best part was we had the full access to all the cameras and all the mics, and like we got the unedited versions of everything, and you could hear Melo on the court, and I would always laugh. Like the idea of Melo had it been presented under different circumstances, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But it was this like, we'll sprinkle some salt on this day-old rice and be like, yeah, it's fine. It's, you know, like that. That's what it was. They were trying to cover up what they weren't, and I hated that. And they would never actually say what it was. And the other part of it was, and this was Melo related, the whole the fake just noise around Carmelo Anthony being blackballed by the league drove me nuts. The whole idea of like nobody wants Melo. 4 different teams went after Melo. He just wasn't willing to come off the bench. But he would come to Portland and start for Portland. And then after that, he came off the bench. Because if you go to the lesser organization and you still start, well, if you go to the Lakers, you know, you got to bend the knee. And that rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, so not only you're going to do this thing that has no value, you're also going to placate his ego on top of that. And it was just like, this is where the organization's at, huh? And I just disliked all of that stuff.
The second part, I do agree. There wasn't, I don't know if I'd call it ick or anything that severe, but there's definitely a sense that, okay, like you said, it's not going to fly in LA. It's not going to fly at a big
Anywhere
market.
else.
Right. It's like Portland will take this on because they're lucky to have me.
Yes, and I hated that.
I understand all that, but at the end of the day, we were kind of lucky to have him. Like that's ultimately true. Like for what he brought in terms of interest in like, hey, this is a 42-win team that people are going to care about because Carmelo's out there. Like that was the reality.
And here, he said this last show, and I'm starting to see what he means. Portland was kind of, think of the Melo era as Portland kind of being in the background. Remember when Danny said Portland's been in the background of a lot of historic things? We were in the background of Carmelo Anthony's legacy career, essentially. We were on the back end of it. So I agree with Danny on this one. Portland has unfortunately been the stepping stone or the little brother or the background for a lot more national or prolific things to happen. And Carmelo Anthony, the guy that was big time in New York Knicks, started with the Denver, obviously, and then, make the trade and dip things like that. But he comes to Portland knowing Buddy's not going to be giving us 25, 30 piece a game, nothing like that. We were in the background of honestly one of the NBA players who like to call celebrity. He's one of the ones that you will call. You've seen him in a lot of different things. So Danny's right. I see why he doesn't like Melo.
You can see it. You can see he's like, oh, God, I hate hearing that. But no, it never had anything.
First of all, you guys talking about Portland being the background, you guys make it sound like the Blazers are the Forrest Gump of the NBA. Like, I understand the point you're trying to make.
Elaborate on that, because there's people watching that probably haven't watched Forrest Gump.
Okay, Forrest Gump is a Tom Hanks movie from 1994. I think it won Best Picture, Best Actor. Tom Hanks goes through life, and he is sort of, there he is. They know who Forrest Gump is.
Danny does.
So the point that I'm making is, like, I understand what you guys are saying with that, but I think it's mutually beneficial. I think Carmelo Anthony being here was mutually beneficial. I know Danny's only metric of success or failure is achieving positive growth towards a championship in your franchise. But some people just want to hang out and have a good time with Carmelo Anthony if that's the option we have. It's like raging against the machine as a Blazer fan when Melo is here doesn't serve any tangible
Just call
purpose.
me a bull on a parade, baby.
Two things can be true at the same time, right?
It's pretty good.
Two things can be true at the same time. There was positives for Melo being here, and then there was the negative.
And Melo is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, I'm not taking away from that at all. And what's funny is Melo's the kind of, because you know the kind of players that I've liked over the years. I like mid-post and post-scoring, footwork, control, like not necessarily finesse, but understand finer points. And Melo did. Like, Melo got in the lab at the mid-block, and he had move to counter move into counter move. And like there was some beauty in that. But boy, did I hate watching it because of what it signified for this team. Outside of Portland, it was fine. But to your point, when it became like he became more important in the franchise, that's the stuff that bothered me.
But sliding doors, Marang, like, okay, Melo's not on that team.
It's LaMarcus.
And
who was a better player at that time?
Certainly a better player.
And if I'm getting my fan service, I want the fan service that I like.
That is certainly the best case scenario.
I'm fully admitting my bias here. Like
the absolute, I think most fans would agree. Well, I don't know. Are you still bitter about LaMarcus
No, they
Aldridge?
are.
Use the hashtag.
There's still something about
RC wrap up. Let us know if you're still bitter about LaMarcus. No, I think that is certainly a best case outcome, is having LA in that fan service spot. I guess my point is, with or without Melo, you still have the same outcome in terms of where your franchise is and what was eventually going to happen in terms of blowing things up and kind of starting over. So I just don't think Melo was the catalyst. I do understand your frustration with perhaps what he represented at times, but I just thought it was fun to have that guy on the team for a while.
I wish I would.
That's me.
I wish I would have been able to enjoy it, but
I wish that also.
The stuff around it bothered me so much and it still does. It's just like, why? We've spent enough time on that. The fact is, we've gotten this far in the show, and we've gotten things to be so normal with Deni.
I know
that he went 33 minutes tonight and went 26, 15, and 6, and we're just now talking about
7 offensive rebounds.
Mm-hmm. Again, 26 points, 15 rebounds. He just continues to, like, again, it gets against what's left of the Raptors. This is like Jurassic Park 17.
The remnants of Toronto. Yeah.
It's not
one
that,
comes out.
But this is what good players are supposed to do. When you throw out the X team, you're supposed to beat them into a paste, and it was downhill drive after downhill drive after downhill drive. He was 8 of 14 from 2, and I was like, yeah, he's just gonna bludgeon them to death. There was one drive where they showed the replay going to break, where he gets it, and you can watch Raptors defenders, and this is something I've kind of noticed over the last couple of weeks. Defenders are starting to get out of his way. It's very kind of LeBron, Giannis-esque of like,
business decisions.
I don't want to get hit by this dude. Mm-hmm. He's 6'9", 245 pounds, and I'll keep bringing it up. And one of these times we're gonna have to play it on the show. Duncan Robinson was on, I want to say, the Old Man and the Three, the JJ Redick's old podcast, and he talks about, yeah, there you go, Shaedon Sharpe against the Raptors, calming them all down. But Duncan Robinson said, you know who's like one of the like low-key strongest guys in the league? It's Deni Avdija. He put me in a body bag. He goes, he hit me with this shiver in the middle of my chest and sent me to the floor. And that's not a one-off. Like, you see Deni get called for the occasional offensive foul, but he runs over guys because he's like, I'm daring you to, because even though he's under control, he's doing it with force. And I wonder, like, where he can take that with his game. Because the counter to him is to start waiting for him. And can he develop a floater? Can he develop an in-between game? Does he, instead of being, like, always decelerate, maybe I go hard to the rim and really play with power? And I'm very, like, I had somebody text me today who's covered Deni for a long time. He's like, are you ready to believe that he's a franchise player yet? Because when they traded for him, he's like, I think he could end up being like, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting to the point
It's
where
not off the table.
No,
man.
and I'm asking questions of like, could he be that guy? And now, I don't think he can be the guy. I think he can be a guy. And that is not something that I thought June 26th last year when they traded for him.
I mean, is this something that we would have thought at the All-Star break? Probably not.
I think you were starting to ask questions.
Well, sure.
around
You're
then,
like, what?
Because he had
do
that
we have
January
here?
period of like,
We're waiting for it.
But he's continued this stretch. Like, he's basically averaged what he did tonight over the past 11 games, which is 26, 15, and 6. He's not averaging 15 rebounds, but he's averaging double digits in rebounds. He had seven offensive rebounds tonight, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Dude is everywhere. He did it in 33 minutes. And you're right, Marang. Him going to the basket, it will be interesting to see what wrinkles he adds to it, because it is so lethal right now. But if he gets another component where he does pull up from the mid-range, or he does decide to actually knock people over, like, what does the evolution of Deni Avdija look like in terms of a scorer? And then what does it look like in terms of being a distributor? Because I'm not saying that this is something they're going to do every night, but we have seen Deni Avdija basically play all 5 positions on this team throughout the course of the season.
He has played he's played the 5 for significant stretches when they've gone to small ball.
Certainly defensively.
Yeah, I mean, well, looking at Denny's last 15 games, averaging 25 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists on 52, 47, 82 splits. Also, Denny.
Kudos to our graphics department tonight.
It's incredible the stuff that they can do.
Dynamite stuff.
Just
2025.
You know, so that makes me want to prompt the question. What does he actually will need to develop these parts of the game? Because the roster next year is going to contribute to what he also has to work on, because then there's going to be players on the team that does this a little bit better. He can keep focusing on being turbo. So I feel like the roster also is going to play a big factor into what Deni more likely needs, because the development of these franchise players depends on the roster in certain situations. Not every situation, but I feel like in this one.
You're right. And the thing is that's impressive about Deni is, yes, the turnovers are an issue. Like, that's the thing he needs to clean up. But this is what happens when you empower somebody. If you remember when Shaedon Sharpe took over the offense last year when everybody else was hurt, it was like, oh, that's a lot of turnovers, because he was put in a position he hadn't been in. Like, playing guard in the – I remember Anthony Simons when he kind of moved to the 1. I was talking to him. This is, I want to say, like year 4. He hit me after a game, and somebody had just blasted him on Twitter. And he was like, can you do me a favor and tell these guys this is my first time playing point guard in my life, and I'm doing it in the NBA? And I remember that. Like, he was just like, I'm learning, dude.
Good argument.
Yeah.
Like,
I
had to remember that.
argument.
I had to remember that, that's right. Like, you've never really been a point guard in your life. Denny's been a good playmaker, but he's been never asked to run an offense and create this much. Yeah. And this is where I think, like, this is why I kind of take away and discount some of the March and April stuff. Is, yeah, you have some big performances, but you also have some larger negative statistic outliers of, like, because they're trying, not just Deni, guys around the NBA are doing things maybe they haven't been empowered to do before. And so you kind of have to find that sweet spot in between. But the more Deni does this, it's not like a game or two. This is the last 15 games. Like, we're getting to the point where it's like, you know what?
That's like a fifth of the season.
Yeah, I'm going to do this real quick while you guys go here, though. I'm going to pull this up. Well, maybe screw it. I can just do it real quick. There we go. From January 1st. Screw it. It's live TV.
Danny's funny, man.
I just love the inner monologue just being out there right
well,
now.
I didn't know how fast I was going to be able to do it. So since January 1st, this is now, what, 39 games. Half the season. 19 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. 49, 37, 77. If you told me Deni came in next year averaging 28 and 5, you have a half a season's worth of data to say they can do it. Like, that's... And they went, in those 39 games, they went 22 and 17.
I mean, we've been at a point for a while with Deni where I just expect him to do everything, and he has, and he's done it for a long chunk of time now. Like, it has been this way for a month, 2, where if you walk down the street and someone asks you who the best Portland Trailblazer is, you say Deni Avdija, and you say it with your chest, and you've been doing that for a while now, but this is even a step beyond that with the level of consistency that he's showing. And I do think that going into next season, all the hype
he starts here
around
as opposed
this team
to working there.
is going to be with Deni and 2 and Cooper Flagg when he's a Portland Trailblazer next season. All 3 of those, that big 3, I just think Deni is turning into the face of your franchise.
Yeah, and
He is.
Which is kind of crazy because if you had asked me that when they make the trade for him, I would have said it's Ant right now. You're hoping Shaedon or Scoot maybe takes that mantle, but I mean, right now, if you're forecasting into next season, the face of your franchise is Deni Avdija.
No question.
And then it's probably 2. It's probably 2 money.
So 2 and Shea aren't interchangeable.
Shea's kind of closing the season like he might be that guy, but I think 2 has obviously done it the entire year.
And if 2 gets on a list,
And if he makes that all-defensive team,
that's a thing you can point to.
stamped.
Sometimes it happens is Buck Williams.
Yeah, I mean it's been a hot minute. So, again, you're still missing the guy, but you've got 2 guys that you were just dyed in the wool over your.
You've got guys.
Yeah.
There's guys on this team. Maybe not the guy.
You need a dude.
But there's plenty of guys, couple bros.
Yep.
We need a dude.
Some hoopers.
We got at least one hooper.
You need a dude who can
DB.
abide.
By the way, DB took 19 shots tonight. My guy got him up.
Coming into this game, if you knew anything,
There it is.
was that Delano Banton was going to get shots.
Getting the
at.
start.
At least today.
In his
In home?
hometown.
Yeah. Against his old team?
Let's
yeah,
go.
100%. 100%.
Well, you know what? That's funny. That makes me want to ask you fellas this question. There's 3. So you talk about the Blazers next season. Potential big 3 forming. Their new big 3.
Medium 3. Medium 3.
All right, medium 3. That's pretty good too. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, so Deni, you talk a little bit about 2, and Shea. Shea knows
For sure.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
like, Donovan gives you a certain defensive floor, but his offense is still lagging behind. Scoot, while being better, I'm not concussion withstanding and get well soon, Scoot. Like that. It's never fun to deal with that nonsense. Scoot seems to pick up knocks and dings. Nothing serious. But I'm wondering if that's going to be. It's very early in his career. It could just be something that just happens. But I wonder if he's going to be like a 65 game a year kind of guy, just that kind of picks up a rolled ankle here, shoulder there. You know what I mean? Because he plays so physical.
I was just saying, based on his style of play, that would make sense.
Yeah.
That he has that kind of.
Deni can
career.
overcome that because he's so big.
He's enormous.
Scoot does not have that advantage, and I wonder if he's going to have to find that in between game, like the Mike Conley floater, Darius, like
Career preservation.
Yeah,
stuff.
but
Trae Young.
even those guys, like, because Scoot has one thing going over all those guys that they don't have, that he does have tremendous size.
He's built.
He's built like a truck.
Yeah.
But like Garland, Trae, Conley, they're all very quick. They're all very small. They have to avoid contact because not only are they slight, they're 6'1", 6'2". Like you have to be crafty, not only to be effective, but to preserve yourself. We were talking about this in the office. Allen Iverson.
AI.
Yeah.
Look,
The original AI.
like, we're talking about the difference between generations and things like that. Allen Iverson, you throw his body up on a chart and you list all the injuries from head to toe. There's not one missing. He got hurt everywhere.
Well, he was fearless among the trees in
And
an
he paid for
era where it wasn't policed as closely as it is now.
Clothesline guys. It was just crazy.
And that's why he
Gotta
was
say some
beloved, too.
elbows, yeah.
And that's why he was beloved.
because he was a gamer. He wasn't about practice, but he was about games.
But getting back to your point, Terry, I do think that those are the three guys, right?
Yeah.
It's Deni, it's Tu, it's Shea. Scoot and Donovan are kind of doing their own thing, but those guys,
they have passed it. They have on ramps.
sure,
Further down the road.
no question. But that's the timeline with those guys right now. They're all kind of combining together.
Dick Hanna Subaru can help with that. You want to know how? You're going to tell us how.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, for over 70 years, folks, Dick Hanna Subaru has been a trusted, family-owned dealership dedicated to serving their community. With a lifetime powertrain warranty on every new Subaru and a focus on lasting relationships, they truly believe in ice. Visit Dick Hanna Subaru today and experience the difference for yourself. Do we have another Trembier?
Oh, yeah. We gotta have a Trembier.
do a Trembier.
Let's just go ahead and talk about it. All right. I don't know where your stance is on the Memphis Grizzlies. It doesn't really matter.
They stink.
Fade away, bucket game. Ja Morant with the game winner tonight.
Grizzlies needed that win.
Against the Miami Heat. Whatever. But,
Hate to see it.
if we're going to talk about the game, let's talk about the aspects of the game as well. The game winner was great, but trending was Ja. Prior, he did a little hand signal, bad things, signals that he did prior to the issues he had has been basically brought up again. It happened earlier this week.
He did the finger guns again.
There you go.
So
And he did it tonight.
did it to the Warriors bench the other night. The league looked into it, and they ended up basically issuing the stern warning to both Buddy Hield and Ja Morant. And instead of going, I'm going to put my head down, I'm going to preserve my Nike sponsorship and any other potential deals I have, I'm going to double down on stupid. And did the finger guns tonight. And I don't care about the finger guns in general. It is a awareness that Ja Morant does not have. And it is why you hear about the Memphis Grizzlies and the talk around, like, do we want to get out of the Ja business? It's the same reason the Hornets, there's stuff like out there like them wanting to get out of the LaMelo business. The Pelicans wanting to get out of the Zion business. It's not because they're not good basketball players. It's because they can't stop being dumb. And it's just like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Why?
They're all being dumb. I will say
There's varying sliding scales of
there's sliding scales of dumb, and also none of those guys right now are, well, maybe LaMelo a little bit, but he's kind of a wrinkle. None of those guys are bringing a title home. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Luka was at, well, Luka we know is misbehaving because he's drinking beer, and that's why he got traded from Dallas to Los Angeles. But I think, yes, this is all bad behavior. I'm not condoning it. I guess what I'm saying is if these are like top 10 guys, top 15 guys, maybe even top 20
These
guys.
are supposed to be franchise pillars.
They're supposed to be, but they're not on the court, and they're certainly not off the court. I think in Portland, we have seen both sides of it this century, right? We'll talk about that a little bit later some more. But, we had the era of we're embarrassed by our franchise to we literally have the best leader in sports on our team for a decade. Like, we've had both of those. So we
Very
understand
close to each other.
what it's, yeah, exactly. They buttressed each other, in fact. There you go. The finger guns. It's just it's more disappointing with Ja, I think, than the other guys, personally speaking, because Ja seemed like Allen Iverson 2.0 or 3.0. He was like Allen Iverson, but
electric.
He did things in games I've never seen anybody do of any size before, and he would do it like once a night.
Yeah.
That's where the Grizzlies were. And it was like, this team's on the precipice of a title, and then Ja can't keep it together off the court. They fire their coach, the team's in disarray, and now they're the belle of the ball. Everybody in the Western Conference wants to play them in the first round.
Oh, because they're
that's
so
the dream
dysfunctional.
matchup.
Yes. Like, they're fighting for who can have the Memphis Grizzlies, like, because they're just going to fold like a wet napkin. It's no, I mean, I'm serious. It's I don't understand. Like,
And it sucks, because it should be one of the most fun teams in the NBA.
doing this in itself is not bad. And there was like, well, you see it across the NFL. You see it across the NBA. Well, guess what? None of those other players got busted on Instagram flashing a gun around or at a strip club. There's a connotation and a context that exists for Ja Morant that doesn't exist for anybody else. Stop being an idiot.
No, listen.
Like, I love the kid. I love his game. When he was coming out of Murray State, I had him on my draft board. I had him above Zion. I was like, this kid is like, do you know how good you have to be to average 20 and 10 in college? 10 assists at Murray State.
I was about to say
Like he was unbelievable. He was so like there was the electric moments you're talking about, but as a point guard, he was incredible. And I'm like, you know what? Small guards you got to be special.
Yeah.
And he showed special, and he's just for nothing else has thrown it away because of his stupid choices. It's literally nothing else.
And you know what? I'll give this. I'll defend Ja in this way. Ja's 25 years old. He's living in 2025. He's living in a time where things are a little bit unusual. The amount that's the best word I can say. Where everybody's on social media, everybody sees your game, everybody's trying to be cooler than the other, and the outside aspect is that Ja is pretty much easily influenced by outside sources, and it's not the NBA. And, you know, I said I'll give him a little bit of credit. I'll say the year that he's in and the culture he's around, probably it doesn't help with that. He's probably a guy that needed to play maybe in the earlier 2000s where the social media wasn't as big. He probably had a little bit more grounds because now you're looking at a league that's a lot more player-driven in different aspects. And to his credit, that's not good. He doesn't need to have players. He needs structure. Just like Zion needs structure. LaMelo needs structure. He ain't gonna get that much structure in Charlotte. Zion's not getting that much structure in Pelicans. And obviously Memphis is not giving Ja the structure he needs. So these players who have the talent but not the outside personalities as other players do to be successful.
It's just a reminder that for everything we think NBA players and athletes in general can be, they are dudes. And everyone struggles with stuff, no matter what it is, whether it's keeping your head on straight or other issues that you may have off the court. Like, more often than not, people don't put it together.
Yes.
Like, this happens more often than guys putting it together, which is...
It's what makes LeBron so insane.
Well, for as long as he's done it.
Yes. The worst public gaffe he's ever had was the decision, and it was $4 million that was generated. It was given to a Boys and Girls Club. It's the worst public gaffe he's ever had. And he has been in the limelight since he was 16. Like,
yeah, I mean, the biggest accusation against him is that he's corny, but like, he seems like, honestly, like, he seems like a genuinely nice man and a good father.
Got
and,
his kid to the NBA.
Right,
Like,
he's like
401k.
Upstanding member of the community.
Pays
like,
his rent on time.
LeBron James.
not in a police blotter once.
No.
No fights.
Pretty
no,
funny in Trainwreck. Like,
Yeah, like-
pretty funny.
Yeah, but
Space Jam 2, disaster.
And this is why, when you...
Why you did that?
Not to go all the way back, but this is why when you get a Damian Lillard, it's so important.
Yeah, man.
Because the combination of talent and leadership, which is why guys like Wemby and Flag are so critical, it's not just their skills, it's their ability to be the hub of your generation, for your team, for your organization. The Spurs aren't the Spurs if Tim Duncan is Dennis Rodman. Like, Tim Duncan being the most boring star in the history of the game is what made that work.
Say same thing with Dirk too. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not boring. Dirk is not boring. He had a little bit more
he's
personality
stable.
playing than
Yes,
Tim.
like-
Stable.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I hate to throw the kid under the bus. It's not even Ja. Ant Edwards. I don't believe in him. I don't. The talent is here. I don't trust him at all. Not
franchise
one
guy.
bit. Like, as a franchise, we've had this discussion off air. If you're giving me Tyrese Halliburton and what he does and his leadership stuff, or Ant Edwards and all of his other issues, I'm taking Halliburton. I know the upside on Ant because the talent is so overwhelming, but what you just said, the likelihood of those two things colliding, the talent and keeping your head straight, it's so rare.
Well, it's just it's the same thing with romantic relationships as in sports. I can fix him.
Yes.
I can fix
Because
him.
the talent's like,
I can fix
I get it.
Ant Edwards is so gorgeous. I'm going to be the
Yeah.
one to fix that man. That's
Yes.
what's going to happen. Like, and I get it because even when you were saying that, I was like, you know what? If I was a GM, I might throw it all away for Ant Edwards.
No, I
honestly,
especially depending on like where you are. Like, if you're like, I got to do something.
Right.
Like, I get
I'm
it.
glad you're taken, buddy. Glad you're taken.
I am higher on Ant than you are by a lot. Like, I think
Yeah.
Ant has the potential to be a top 3 guy.
Oh, no. Talent-wise, I do think he can be that guy. It's the maturity stuff. I don't think he's ever going to get it.
You know what?
It's interesting.
Now I'm going to put you in a
Worth the risk.
scenario. I'm going to put you in. We're going to get to some postseason scenarios that happen on the Blazer box, but I'm going to give Joe this scenario right now. Ja, Zion, Ant. All in their prime, all healthy.
How many do I get?
Oh, you only get one.
It's Ant Edwards.
Okay.
Yeah, of those
By a
three,
mile, I think.
I would take Ant.
Yeah.
You take Ant?
Yeah.
I heard producer Danny down the hall screaming Ant.
Yeah.
You take
I didn't even
Ant.
hear in my ear. I heard him yelling Ant.
The one that I brought up on the radio today was the three was Ja, Zion, LaMelo,
Okay.
because that's a pick your poison.
God, you know who I take?
It's LaMelo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to.
Okay, put Melo in, and it's all four. Do you still take Ant out of those
Yes.
those
Yeah.
four?
Yeah.
So that just proves my point of how talented this guy, actually to Danny's point,
Yeah.
how talented this guy is. But the outside stuff, it means a lot more in today's NBA than honestly it probably did years
I
prior.
don't think you can win a title without it. I genuinely don't.
Well,
As a player, I don't care unless you were Michael Jeffrey Jordan. You cannot win a title without having it because Jokic, Giannis, Tatum, Steph, Braun, go down the list. Name me a team led by a maniac in the last 25 years. Chauncey's Pistons. It's Chauncey.
yeah.
Do you count Kevin Garnett or Paul Pierce to lead that Celtics team?
I mean,
Doc Rivers led that
well,
Celtics.
that's,
Get out of here!
you had basketball Rondo, who was a maniac of his own, but he was a basketball savant that kept everything together.
What's Rondo doing right now?
Probably playing chess, and coaching.
love it.
Like for those that don't
I love
know,
it.
Rajon Rondo is like one of the smartest people on the planet.
I'll buy
like,
that.
He's like a full-on savant. Like insanely smart dude, and the way he processed basketball was absolutely
But
crazy.
Tyree, to your point earlier, and then maybe we can move on. The notion that the stuff matters more now. I don't know if it matters more now, but you made the really good point of like
It's more visible.
everything's out there.
Yeah.
There's literally no secrets. Like
None.
media protected Jordan. They protected Jordan, and that's just it is a
Yeah, social
gotcha.
media in the Jordan era, every casino
Oh
he
my
would
God.
go in, there would
Dude.
be 1,000 phones.
And now the phones are against you. The phones are against you now. The phones are all out. The phones aren't out for this one. Let's go to the Blazer box. There were some postseason scenarios today, and some of them actually happened. So let's look at these, all right? Detroit clinches a playoff spot with an Orlando loss. Miami is locked into the play-in with a loss or a Milwaukee win. Well, good
Both
for Miami. I was about to say, both things happen. Orlando is locked in to the play-in with the loss and either a Miami loss or a Milwaukee win. So there you go. Orlando is locked into the play-in. Miami is locked into the play-in. And, well, Detroit's been doing Detroit things. So,
Real quick, because I know we need to get to our top 25 Blazers, but it is crazy what Detroit has done. They have more than tripled their win total from last year. It is absolutely bonkers. And I was watching the Pistons-Thunder game last night. The gap between the Pistons and the Thunder in wins is 21 games. 21 wins is more than the bottom four teams in the NBA have reached. So the gap between Detroit and OKC is more than any of the bottom four teams in the NBA have won.
I think
It's crazy. Like, Detroit's been really good. Then you look at where OKC and you go, oh.
I don't want to jinx them, but I said this before, and I said this to Joe. You weren't here. I said this is the year for Detroit. The Lions did some great things. The Pistons are kind of back. Now, Detroit Red Wings, they seem like a pretty competent NHL team now.
We'll see.
I don't want to jinx them because Detroit's been through a lot, but Detroit looks like they've been kind of striving and vibing and feeling good now. in the
Detroiters,
sports
very funny show.
Also,
Check out that show.
Tyree Smith says Detroit is back.
Hey, go ahead, clip it, put it out there, and do y'all things. But it's time to get to the top 25. Joe!
Okay, so top 25 Blazers of the 21st century. It's all fun and games until now.
Yes.
He's not my Vetus.
No.
He's not your Vetus.
Nope.
He's our Vetus. Arvydas Sabonis.
Indeed.
Ah, there
Number 6.
That guy he's chest bumping right there is Steve Smith. He's 6'8". Just wanted to put that out there real quick. Look at this house. Just saucy.
Shaq has respected 2 opponents in his prime.
Arvydas
Yao Ming
Sabonis
and Arvydas
Yao Ming.
Sabonis.
Because, so I've mentioned this on the show. Shaq has recently, I want to say early in this basketball season, he mentioned that he did play for the Lakers at 425 pounds. Let that sink in real quick. He made Arvydas Sabonis look small. Arvydas was playing at like 360, 370. I mean, look at Vin Baker, who looks like a child next to him. Vin Baker,
pass
if I
was
remember right, was
beautiful.
6'9",
The
about
Sabonis
260.
Stoudemire 2-man games just.
Dude, that's beautiful.
I mean,
Pleased to be a country.
For the youngs out there, get lost in a YouTube rabbit hole of Arvydas Sabonis pre-Trailblazers. There was a period of time
CCCP Arvydas Sabonis. Put it in your YouTube machine.
Look, I mean, his talent was overwhelming. You're talking about a guy who had no knees, no Achilles, no ankles, no nothing left, and still gave everybody that work. That is Karl Malone that he's just bullying around the block like he's not there. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at this.
You could tell by the way
7'3", left it up there. He knew it. Wet.
Wet.
You take prime Arvydas Sabonis before his
Good
injuries.
luck.
I mean, that's Greg Ostertag.
Get out of here, Greg Ostertag.
Who's a monster human.
Go back to the set of Eddie.
Look at this. Look at the touch. Look at the touch. I mean, this was a guy, again, I was saying, who at one point in time, before his body failed him, was seen as the best basketball player on the planet when Michael Jordan was in his prime.
It's fascinating to watch highlights of him even more as the years go on. And not even just the young highlights, but the highlights that we're watching right now when he played in the NBA. It is as though he was transported from a time machine
Back.
Current era,
yes,
back to the late 90s and early 2000s, because even at the time you were thinking, you just watch somebody play basketball in such an advanced way and do it with pure craft and intelligence, because clearly the body is completely broken, but the talent and the smarts are so off the charts that it allowed him to still be a excellent NBA player.
Some of the best hands in NBA history. Right hand, left hand.
Yeah, anything.
Everything.
Besides the injuries, is it crazy to say he kind of, on that hook, he looked a little like Jokic? Or
oh, no,
Jokic
I mean,
looks like him.
So there's a Lithuanian coach that works with Jokic and the Nuggets, Adam Mares, who's the head of content for DNVR, covers the Nuggets. Him and I have talked about Jokic a ton, and is like being the best passing big man of all time. Because the second best passing big man of all time is this man.
Nice.
It is this guy. And so one of Sabonis's former, I believe his former teammates or workout partners,
keep it going.
or something
So
like
good.
You can let that play over the top, but they don't need to see me. They can watch Sabonis. But he was asked about, because he's worked with Jokic and Sabonis, who was the best passer. And he was like, Arvydas, all respect to him, Jokic is that guy. But Sabonis was doing this 25 years before him, 30 years before. Because the proliferation of the game was not allowed because of the USSR, for those that don't know, the Blazers drafted him in 1986. It took them 10 years to get him over here. It wasn't just the fall of the wall, it was also all of the other political fallout before they could make that happen. I mean, if you, this is like, I have two things that I stand on it with, had it gone a different way with the Blazers. One of them is Brandon LaMarcus healthy, they have a shot at an NBA title. The other one is if Arvydas Sabonis comes over and plays with Clyde Drexler, the bad boy Pistons and the first era of Jordan don't matter.
That's a championship.
Clyde Drexler in his prime with that, Dan, in his prime, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
How good do you think he'd be in today's NBA? I feel like he'd be like
Jokic.
Another Jokic.
Yeah, it would be another Jokic. Like you would have, advanced Jokic and Jokic 1.0 and Jokic 2.0.
I just feel so bittersweet watching Sabonis. There's no
watching 60% of him and still being better than almost everybody out there.
Yeah, there's no other emotion that you can have, because it is perhaps the greatest what if in Blazers history, because of what it could have meant, and because we actually got a little taste of it. And we did get it, like you said, at 60%, but it truly was something like I'd never seen before. It felt like he was playing a different game. I just remember being a youngster and then a teenager and just being in awe of what he could do on a basketball court, because I know now it may look a little, I don't want to say rudimentary, but back then, a man that big shooting threes did not happen. That in itself was amazing. The passing, the touch, the strength, just everything you could want in a basketball player, but just having this husk of a body that he was dragging around. It was a fascinating combination. And the top five to come, there was some debate whether or not Sabonis should be in the top five, and he just missed out.
I mean, Sabonis in that era averaged 16, 10, and 3 in the 97-98 season, and then it dropped down because he suffered another injury and the strike here. But I mean, you're talking about a guy, if you adjust for pace in the NBA, you're looking at a 24, 14-8 guy. Like, I mean, his son is like the mini-me of him. Like, imagine if Domantas Sabonis was 5 inches taller and quite literally 100 pounds heavier.
So to be clear, that's literally his son.
Yeah.
Go ahead and watch on Netflix. His son's on that documentary, so it'd be good. Folks, we're back at it again tomorrow. 5 p.m. tip for the Chicago Bulls. It's on the road, obviously, so it's going to be another one of those games. It's going to be interesting to see because you said the Chicago Bulls are still fighting for these wins, and Blazers are...
They've been good.
They've been good.
Like, Josh Giddey has been really good.
They have.
Kobe White was just named Eastern Conference Player of the Month. Like, Modest Buzelis has started to figure it out. He was one of the biggest swing prospects in the draft, and I watched them play for the G League Ignite, and I did not like what I saw. I was like, well, if he can shoot, I hope so, because he was getting pushed around, but he's been shooting. And so now the Bulls kind of have something.
Kind of?
Question mark?
Folks, this is it. If the Blazers don't win this one, your dreams are dead.
Yeah, back it
or
up.
they're very much alive. Do we have to run the lottery simulator?
we
Here
got-
You know we
Yeah.
will. To the Blazer box, good people, because it's Tankathon time.
Let's go.
On the Rip City
go.
Wrap Up. All right, producer just said we got 90 seconds left
four.
in the show. Let's go ahead and do this.
Top four.
Danny! Baby!
That is 4 for 4.
Let's go.
4 for 4, top 4. They have finished 4th, 2nd, 3rd, and 1st.
Cooper Flag, I know some great real estate in Southeast Portland. I'd love to show you, babe. Come on down anytime to a Pickles game.
I don't think we're doing that again. I don't know if we should
I
do
think
that
we
again.
might have to end on that.
Wow.
Can we end on that, Joe?
It is kind of funny though that
This is so good it feels when it's fake.
We have rolled this.
So good it feels.
We have rolled this 4 times and ended
Yeah.
up top 4 times.
It's true.
We have burned through basically all of
We
the
went
chances.
second, third,
did.
or fourth, and now first.
Yeah.
We did. I'm not touching this
That's
again,
it.
good people.
Blazers, send Deni Marang as your representative to the draft lottery, please.
I did get my combine invite just the
Let's
other day.
go.
I gotta go now.
Let's go.
Episode 78 of the Rip City Wrap Up tomorrow, good people. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you guys back here. Enjoy your Thursday, man.
We love you all so much.
Bye.